Diana West's Red Thread. Diana West's latest book, The Red Thread, teaches us to swim in the details instead of drowning in the lies. Before describing Diana's details, it is useful to establish the context in which her work appears. In terms of the big picture, an ideological war is taking place throughout society, on every level, across every discipline. In the old Soviet Union, they used to say, "We live in the era of the transition between capitalism and socialism." It was also billed as a transition between belief in God and a belief in the power of man. This ideological war can also be characterized as a war between traditional values and opposite values, that is, anti-values. It is a war against motherhood waged on behalf of feminism. It is a war against the norms of heterosexuality waged on behalf of homosexuality. It is a war against a predominantly white European culture waged on behalf of an imaginary global citizenry predominantly brown or non-European. Because this ideological war involves demagogic and rhetorical constructions of the socialist left, and because it relies on serial swindles like promising liberation to the victims of an oppressive white male heterosexual regime, the demagogues and rhetoricians must produce a steady stream of lies. In the first instance, they produce lies because ideology always involves a falsification of reality. In the second instance, because lies offer a ready shortcut in the game of consolidating political power. Enter Diana West's Red Thread. According to Frank Gaffney, in his introduction to Diana's book, the details she presents are essential if we are to understand and effectively confront the forces of globalist tyranny. These are the same forces elsewhere described as the deep state or the swamp. In the old Soviet literature, the correct term was the socialist camp, confused by socialist acolytes with the camp of the saints. Diana's book exposes an ongoing attempt by the camp of socialism to delegitimize President Trump. She presents details on the background of key players and of key instigators in the Trump/Russia collusion myth. She shows that these people are socialists, that an ideological driver is behind the collusion myth, and that today's most dangerous socialists do not wear the socialist label. Instead, they follow Moscow's example. The socialist camp claims that Trump is Putin's puppet. Trump and Putin are supposedly cut from the same cloth. Therefore, the left promotes Putin's deceptive self-presentation as a Christian nationalist. It is ridiculous, of course, that this former KGB officer who laments the fall of the Soviet Union and who boasts that he never parted with his Communist Party card should be a Christian nationalist. The most telling confession, in respect of this, is a tweet by Fusion GPS Russia expert Edward Baumgartner. Diana presents Baumgartner's response to a comment by Dennis Prager, who innocently tweeted, "The news media in the West pose a far greater danger to Western liberty than Russia does." Baumgartner evidently knows that the news media and Russia are both in the socialist camp, and he also knows that the Trump/Russia collusion story is pure misdirection. For he replied to Prager in the following way, "You never lived in Russia and don't speak the language. You think it is a white supremacist and Christian homeland, but it is wonderfully so far from. Fool." Baumgartner is mocking Prager's statement that Russia is not our greatest threat. What is most intriguing is that Baumgartner thinks Russia is wonderful, presumably because it is a threat. Quite clearly, he is contemptuous of Western liberty, hates Christianity, and associates it with white supremacy. He is not worried about Trump/Russia collusion. He knows that Russia is actually helping to promote the left's narrative. He likes Putin's Russia, and he knows that the left, by promoting a false image of Putin as a nationalist, is helping to advance Russia's deception strategy. Baumgartner, in fact, is laughing at Prager's ignorance. As Diana notes, Baumgartner has given us a tantalizing tidbit attended by malicious glee. It is, perhaps, the most important of all Diana's red threads. It points to a conscious knowledge of deception on the part of an active change agent. Baumgartner revels in his intellectual superiority, for he knows and understands what Prager will never figure out. What is the corrective for conservative naivete in such matters? Diana quotes Russian dissident Vladimir Bukovsky. "When you make a serious break with the past, there is no need to conceal the past. The Russians, even now, lie about their own history. They are digging up graves in Karelia, formerly acknowledged as victims of Stalin. The Kremlin claims these victims were prisoners of war massacred by the Finnish army in World War II. Why engage in this kind of deception if Russia is no longer communist? The proof of the Kremlin's ongoing adherence to the camp of socialism is all around us. We only have to look at the Russian troops in Venezuela, at Russian scientists in North Korea, at Russian base building in Nicaragua, etc., etc. The joke is on us, again and again, but Baumgartner is not the only one laughing. Former FBI Director James Comey is also laughing, notes Diana. A self-confessed college communist who does not know how to label himself today, Comey also promotes a deceptive narrative. The same goes for former CIA Director John Brennan and William Browder and Christopher Steele and Nellie Orr. Here are the subjects of Diana's book, and all of them, smell of the socialist camp. It is alleged by many in the mainstream media that Moscow's agents interfered in the election to Trump's advantage. It is alleged that Trump won the election with clandestine Russian support. Did he really? We may judge the artfulness of this disinformation by the chain of antecedent lies that went before, that Russia is no longer part of the socialist camp, that Putin is a nationalist, that the American left is patriotic, that the left is opposed to Russian subversion, that the left will oppose Russia militarily, that the left supports strong borders and national defense. No, all lies. Brazen lies. Did Russia interfere in the 2016 election? Not in the manner so famously advertised. First, Diana says there is no proof of Russian interference. There is only a claim from an untrustworthy source, which the FBI and Robert Mueller did not bother to investigate. If proof exists, we have not been shown its substance. We are told the proofs of Russian hacking, the DNC, are secret proofs, well known to U.S. intelligence agencies who cannot say what they are without revealing sources and methods. But former experts in these methods, like William Binney, claim that the evidence points away from Russia to an employee of the Democratic National Committee who downloaded the stolen DNC emails to a thumb drive. The whole Trump/Russia collusion narrative has been questionable from first to last. As Diana pointed out, the relative position of the combatants was all wrong. The same media, the same left, which ever since have cried Russian influence in the election of Donald Trump, spent the previous century denying such influence existed, specifically denying the Russian/communist threat within, and, further, destroying those who sought to expose and remove it. The era of transition from capitalism to socialism is not over. The socialist side has always employed deceptions of every imaginable type. Today is no different. The Trump/Russia collusion story is only the latest iteration. It has tenaciously entrenched itself in the media and in government. It is fully weaponized and may be extended to accusations of treason aimed at conservatives in a more general sense. If you are a conservative or moderately patriotic, you are mistaken if you think the Constitution will protect you. Why would it? If a majority of those sworn to uphold the Constitution belong to the socialist camp, they will freely disregard the Constitution, as they have already disregarded other laws. Or haven't you been paying attention? They can come for you. In fact, they are planning on it. For there has already been a witch hunt. Lives and careers have already been destroyed. The hysteria against nationalists and Christians as Putin collaborators has already been seeded in the public mind, and Moscow will be adding fuel to the fire. This cannot be emphasized enough. The socialist camp did not disappear in 1991. Its tentacles have been extended to every branch of the U.S. federal government. The socialists have colonized the FBI and CIA. They have corrupted the Justice Department, and they want the White House back, with no more patriotic interlopers like Trump. We live in the era of the transition from capitalism to socialism. When are we going to learn that the socialists are working to replace Western civilization with a socialist civilization? When are we going to realize their goal is to eliminate the Constitution, the free market, freedom of speech, even America itself? When are we going to learn that they are still in cahoots with Moscow? Diana West has not been fooled, though nearly everyone else has misread the clues. Buy her book and read it. Don't be duped by the narrative of the mainstream media. Trouble is coming. To be forewarned is to be forearmed.